22 hours a day, 7 days a week, sleeping on the factory floor, moving between the paint shop, the body shop, general assembly everywhere, all at once. People asked him, don't you worry about breaking down? And he said, honestly, no. But let me tell you something, no one should live like this. No one should carry this kind of weight. This is not a lifestyle I would recommend to anyone. No, even to my worst enemy. Why? Because it is painful. No, the kind of pain you feel in your legs after running deeper than that, your ears stop working properly, your brain starts firing in all directions, your heart, it turns, it twists, something inside you that was soft becomes something else entirely. And still, he kept going. No, because he wanted to, because if he stopped, everything he had built, everything he had bled for would die. Tesla would have died. So he didn't stop. I don't think you'd want to be him. I really don't. Because when you are that kind of person, the switch never turns off. You cannot close the laptop and go to sleep with a quiet mind. The ideas don't wait for you to be ready. They come at 2 a.m., they come in the shower, they come when you are trying to have a normal conversation with a normal human being, and your brain is already 3 problems ahead. He said when he was a child, maybe 5 or 6 years old, he thought something was wrong with him because other children looked calm, normal. And his mind was exploding, just exploding with ideas, with questions, with possibilities. He thought he was strange. And maybe he was. But strange is sometimes the beginning of something extraordinary. He was drawn to the idea of invention. No, because it was practical. No, because someone told him it was a good career. He read one line, one sentence from Arthur C. Clarke. That changed everything. Clarke said that technology advanced far enough is completely indistinguishable from magic. And that sentence landed on him like a lightning bolt. Think about this seriously. Go back 300 years. What do we have today that would have gotten you killed back then? Flying through the sky in a metal tube. Talking to someone on the other side of the world in real time. Seeing things miles away with your own eyes. Magic, pure magic, but we call it an airplane. We call it a phone. We call it a telescope. We forgot how miraculous it actually is, he thought. If I can build things like that, if I can push technology so far that it looks like magic to ordinary people, then I will have done something real, something worth doing. That was his North Star. No, money. No, fame, magic. Was he naive? Did he really think building an electric car or launching a rocket into space was going to be simple? No, he never thought it would be easy. In fact, he thought both companies would probably fail. He started them anyway. And here is something I want you to understand about that kind of decision. It is not logic. Starting a company is not a logical act. It is more like having a child. Nobody looks at a newborn baby and says, actually, this is too risky. Let me return it. You brought this life into the world. No, you have to feed it. You have to protect it. You have to show up for it, even when it is destroying you, even when it is ruining everything else in your life. And then came 2008. Let me stop here for a moment, because 2008 is a chapter that most people don't fully understand. He had roughly $30 to $40 million left. 2 companies, both of them, fighting to survive. And he had to choose, put all the money into one. And the other dies, for certain, split it between both. And both might die. Imagine you have 2 children. And someone tells you there's only enough food for one. Which one do you choose? How do you make that decision? How do you look one child in the face and say, you are the one who gets to live? He couldn't do it. He split the money. He gave both companies a chance. And against every reasonable expectation, against every probability, both of them survived. But in that moment, standing at that crossroads, he didn't know they would survive. He just knew he couldn't choose which one to kill. That is not business strategy. That is something far more human than that. he talked about what Tesla was really trying to do. And it is such a simple idea that people often miss it. He said, how many things have you bought in your life that you actually love? No. Things you use? No. Things that are functional. Things you genuinely love. Things that bring you real joy when you look at them, when you touch them, when you drive them. Think about your own life. How many? A handful, maybe less, he said. That is what we're trying to make. Just things that somebody loves. That is it. Something useful, something joyful. Something that makes a person feel something when they interact with it. No, a product. No, a unit. Something loved. Now, if you're sitting here thinking about starting something, your own company, your own project, your own mission, let me give you the most important truth I can offer. No. The most inspiring truth, the most important one. You need a very high pain threshold. A friend of his described starting a company as eating glass and staring into the abyss. I love this description because it is accurate. At the beginning, you are full of optimism. Everything feels possible. Happiness is high. You are energized. And then slowly reality begins. Problems appear, small ones at first, then bigger ones, then ones that have no obvious solution. And your happiness begins to fall. Until one day you are deep inside a world of hurt that you did not sign up for and cannot easily escape from. And then, if you push through, if you survive, eventually, after a very long time, happiness comes back. But most people quit before they reach that point. Most companies don't make it. Tesla almost didn't make it. SpaceX almost didn't make it. These were not guaranteed success stories. These were companies that were days away from closing their doors. He couldn't get a job. That is how he started. It is 1995. The internet is new, strange, exciting. There are only a handful of internet companies in existence. He applied to one, Netscape, sent his resume. Never heard back. He even showed up to the lobby once, hoping something would happen, but he was too shy to walk up to anyone and introduce himself. So he just stood there and then left, and he thought, okay, if no one will hire me, I will hire myself. That is how one of the most important technologies in history was born. No, from a grand vision. No, from a business plan. From rejection, from embarrassment, from someone who couldn't get a foot in the door and decided to build their own door instead. I want you to remember that. Because most of us have been rejected at some point. Most of us have been told directly or indirectly that we are not the right fit, that we don't qualify, that we should look elsewhere. The question is what you do with that. Do you accept the verdict, or do you go build something that makes the verdict irrelevant? When he and his brother started their first company, there was no money, actually negative money, huge student debt. They couldn't afford an apartment and an office at the same time. So they made a decision, rent a small office, sleep on the couch, shower at the YMCA down the street. There was an internet provider on the floor below them. So they drilled a hole through the floor, literally drilled a hole, and ran a cable down to connect to their internet for $100 a month. One computer. During the day, the website was live. At night, he was coding 7 days a week, no breaks. He had a girlfriend briefly during this period. Briefly. And the only way she could spend time with him was to come sleep in the office too. Because he was not leaving. That is what work hard actually means. No. Staying an extra hour at the office. No. Skipping lunch to answer emails. I mean, every waking hour. Every single one. Because when you're building something from zero, and you know that the moment you stop it might fall apart, you don't stop. Here is something most people get wrong. They think feedback means compliments. They go to their friends, they show their product, their idea, their business, and the friend says, wow, this is amazing. I love this part and that part. And you've done something really special. And they walk away feeling wonderful. Validated, ready to move forward. That feedback is worthless. He said, when a friend uses your product, don't ask them what they like. Ask them what they don't like. Because a friend will naturally tell you the good things. It is how we're built. We want to encourage people we care about. But the bad things, the problems, the friction, those get left out. And those are exactly the things you need to hear. He said, sometimes your enemies give you better feedback than your friends because they have no reason to be kind. They'll tell you exactly what is broken. And that, as painful as it is what actually helps you improve. Seek the negative. Welcome the criticism. Be grateful for the person who tells you the hard truth. They are giving you something. Your cheerleaders never will. He flew to Russia 3 times. 3 times to try to buy refurbished intercontinental ballistic missiles. Think about that image for a moment. Walking into Russian rocket facilities in 2001 and 2002, sitting across from military officials and saying, I'd like to purchase 2 of your largest rockets. Please. They thought he was out of his mind. And honestly, from their perspective, but he had money. And when you have money, even strange requests get considered. He couldn't make the deal work, so he came home and decided, we will build our own rocket from scratch with a team that had never built a rocket before. A good friend of his, trying to warn him, put together a collection of videos. Just rocket after rocket exploding on the launch pad, and made him sit and watch all of them. She wasn't trying to destroy his confidence. She was trying to make sure he understood what he was walking into. That this was not a field where enthusiasm alone carries you. That rockets are unforgiving. That failure is the default. The first launch failed. The second failed. The third failed 3 launches. 3 failures. And they were barely holding together financially. Scraping together parts, cutting costs wherever possible. When the 4th launch came, he said, if this one fails too, we are finished. Done. There's no 5th launch. There's no recovering from this. The 4th launch succeeded. Someone asked him after that 3rd consecutive failure, do you think about giving up? He said, never. No, even a flicker of consideration. He said, I would have to be dead or completely incapacitated to stop. And I want you to sit with that for a moment. Because we live in a world that celebrates resilience, but rarely understands what real resilience actually looks like. It doesn't look like a motivational quote. It doesn't look like someone smiling through adversity. It looks like a man standing in the rubble of his 3rd failed rocket launch, watching millions of dollars turn to smoke and saying, okay, what did we learn? How do we fix it? When is the next one? That is resilience? No, the Instagram version. The real thing. And then after all of this, after Russia, after the failed launches, after the near collapse of 2 companies simultaneously, he found out that some of his childhood heroes had publicly spoken against what he was building. Neil Armstrong, Gene Cernan, astronauts, American legends, icons who had gone to the moon, men who had inspired him as a child. They testified against commercial spaceflight, against the very thing he was dedicating his life to. He said he was sad. And I believe him because what he described was not anger, no defiance. It was genuine sadness. These were his heroes. These were the people whose footsteps quite literally had pointed him toward the stars. And Now they were throwing stones. He said he wished they would just come and visit, come see the hardware, come walk through the facility and look at what the team had actually built. He believed that if they saw it with their own eyes, they would change their minds. That is a remarkable response. No, they're wrong. No, they're irrelevant. But come see it. Let me show you. I think you'd be proud. And when any critic said, you cannot do this, his answer was simple. We've done it. No, we'll prove you wrong eventually. No, just wait and see. We've done it. Past tense already. While you were talking about why it couldn't work, we went and built it. While you were constructing arguments about impossibility, we were assembling rockets. While you were explaining the odds, we were launching. That is the only real answer to doubt. No a speech, no a debate, action. Results, things that exist in the physical world that didn't exist before. You want to know if something is possible? Stop asking permission. Stop waiting for consensus. Go try. Fail, adjust, try again. And when the critics finally look up from their arguments, show them what you built.